Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of
Ghetto.
My name is Hans
I'm Edward.
and we are your hosts for now and forevermore.
Or until, again, one of us finds some Bugatti lost somewhere and just takes it for ourselves and drives away to the
A
house.
Bugatti of all the things?
Of all the things a Bugatti,
how are you
okay?
just taking a Bugatti though?
I will.
I mean,
listen.
okay, so you mean you're going to steal the Bugatti? So you're going to
No,
become
no,
a
no.
criminal? Is this...
Well, yes, I'm going to steal it and drive away. Far away.
No, you're not stealing it because it's your Bugatti. Right? If you anyway, all right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Gettle, one of the internet's premier podcasts for gaming, entertainment, technology, and lifestyle. And if this is the first time that you're attending, welcome. If you're a regular listener, welcome back, bitches.
So,
So this is a bit of a special episode for our long-term listeners because it is one where we're not doing any edits.
yeah.
And I'm already regretting that decision because I messed up that initial intro.
I actually thought you were waiting for me to say something, and I...
Normally, I'll talk about how Gettle is gaming, entertainment, technology, and lifestyle, and it's all wrapped up in a wonderful...
geeky roundabout. You know, just
And
take one
for
off.
whatever reason, I just blanked out as we were talking about it. Now, that doesn't often happen, but in previous episodes, we have actually recorded intros more than once, either because I'm laughing hysterically at something that Edward has said, or Edward can't think of something to say, and we have like a 2-minute pause, and I'm like...
Like,
Well, welcome to episode 50, which, given how we started the year, it's also technically season 2, episode 8. And we actually want to speak about that.
Yes.
We actually didn't speak about it before we began recording, but we're going to speak about it now anyway.
Mhm.
What we would like to know from you, our listeners, is, are you happy with the fact that we've labeled it season 2, episode 8? Or are most of you okay with just going with the normal incremental number for every episode? Meaning, right now, this would be episode 50 in, from the moment we started Gettle to this point in time, versus how we initially changed it to seasons for every year of Gettle. So therefore, this is season 2, episode 8. So we're a little bit in two minds about it, although we really shouldn't be, given how we're 8 episodes into season 2.
Yeah.
But we'd love to know what you think. Are you happy with the season thing? Do you think it's silly? Do you think it's superfluous? Should we just stick with the ever-increasing initial number like Gettle 50? Let us know. And I'm sure I said it before, but I'm going to repeat it again. This is a completely unedited episode between myself and Eduardo.
Yeah.
Warts and all.
You're going to see it all today.
Everything. We actually even contemplated adding in our whole our prep. It's almost like it's a whole like NASA startup sequence. We're like 3, 2, 1, and then we record video. And it's like 3, 2, 1, record audio. 3, 2, 1, record backups, and then we begin the episode. Anyway, I'm now digressing so much versus actually getting on with this. Once again, if you're new, welcome. If you're one of our regular listeners, it's so fantastic to have you back. As per normal, we'll get into some reviews and previews, which turns out many of you love. You actually do love that we have a bit of a structure, which is really wonderful to note. Thank you so much for the feedback. And then we get into luscious content, and then some NSFW, which looks very interesting today.
Yeah, okay. I'm glad.
Okay, cool. So, straight into it. For those of you who are new, Edward and I work at Famous.com, and we always are in, with new movies and TV series and games, and we do a lot of reviews. I actually have some very interesting stuff, which I was going to speak about, but I am under embargo and I'm not allowed to speak about. So I don't even know why I'm mentioning it now, since we already discussed a few weeks ago we wouldn't mention previews. But anyway, going straight...
Gotta tease that shit.
Going straight into some reviews. This was and I'm sure Ed was looking at this and being like, how even? A very good week for me and TV.
Yep. I literally saw the list and I was like, how does one person go through this much content? Like,
This is what happens when you set a time every evening to enjoy some media. This is what happens, especially if you're not gaming or working, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
So for today, it's mostly going to be TV series and movies, and I hope most of you will be okay with that. We do have some gaming stuff in the background as per always, but we will speak about that next week, including that other little tidbit that I mentioned, which is a TV show, and I'm very, very, very excited to begin watching it. I have the first 4 episodes. I can't tell you which TV show, but stay tuned to Gettle for more info.
Actually, I think it's safe to assume if Hans says something, it's media, entertainment media, and if I have something, it's interactive media. I think that's
for the
a good
most part.
assumption.
I mean, in all fairness, we did get new game code this week, and one of them I kind of want to play. I played like 5 minutes, and I'm like, Edward, you need to review this because I'm done.
Oh.
Anyway, before we're getting more sidetracked. So, right, straight into the TVs and movies. I binge watched Ted Lasso, the Apple TV Plus series, which for the longest period of time, I looked at and was like, I'm not interested. Why am I not interested? Because I let my biases interpret whether or not I would watch the show. So basically, I judged the show by its cover, kind of like judging a book by its cover. And this is because all of the media that I had seen up until actually consuming the show was about soccer. That's what the show is about. It's about an American coach who goes to the UK to manage a football league. Now, I have no interest in soccer whatsoever, other than knowing that David Beckham and Ronaldo and those few really popular soccer
And Zidane bet someone once or something.
right? Yeah, like, I mean, and then also the fact that they're all drama queens on the pitch. So, other than that, I know very little about the sport. And I generally don't enjoy sports. I mean, I like sports. Like, I played a lot when I was in high school. Hockey, javelin, long jump. There's a whole list. But I don't actively partake in it after hours. Like, I don't sit and watch matches. It's just not something that I enjoy. Maybe I do enjoy esports though, so I guess that's a little bit different. For a conversation for another day. Anyway, let me not get too detracted. So I kept blowing it off, and then eventually I was like, oh, I don't have much to do. It was last weekend. I was all just chilling, and I was like, let me watch the first episode, and I was blown away. It is probably one of the best comedies I have seen in a very long time. It's expertly done. I give it an EGAT of exceptional in the sense of if you enjoy comedy shows that now bear in mind this is different. I know Edward doesn't like sitcoms, so this is not a sitcom. It's an actual, and it's not a dramedy either. Although it has a tendency just a little bit to have a bit of drama in it, but it's just a genuinely funny comedy. Kind of the style of like Sex Education on Netflix, for example. Not because it's crass, but just in that terms of, adult humor. But at the same time being very relatable because it deals with a lot of personal things to do with Ted Lasso, the coach, who is portrayed by Jason Sudeikis. And it's just, I can't speak highly enough about it. Because in the show, Ted Lasso is this, Midwestern American with that accent,
From
and
Buffalo.
he is incredibly humble, but at the same time, ridiculously positive. So it doesn't matter what's going on around him. He consistently looks at life as being half full instead of half empty, the glass of life. And, you watch this, and in the beginning, you're a bit like, oh, that's so irritating. as awful,
Like,
as that sounds, right? But
yeah.
he's the way that Jason Sudeikis plays his character, it's actually so endearing. You end up, it's infectious. So I ended up smiling and laughing the whole time. Every time he was on screen, talking to other characters. It's really this infectious positivity. And, the way he deals with things like, he's in the UK and he's an American football coach and, they're like, what are you doing here? Teaching football, your football's not the same as our football, so then he's labeled as a wanker by basically everybody in this town. And,
Okay.
he doesn't know what it is, first of all, so he ends up asking about it. And then eventually, he takes it as a positive. So he's just like, no, I'm going to make wanker endearing. instead of making it something to bring me down because these people don't like me. And it's an incredible lesson, I feel. It's genuinely very much a feel good show. And the lesson is, it doesn't matter what life throws at you. You really can make lemonade from lemons.
Mm.
It's just wonderful. Now, that's not to say that it's entirely unrealistic. There are aspects of the show, aspects of the character, where they do touch upon certain things, like how he ends up going through a divorce and how, he doesn't talk to anybody about it. So his, happy facade, doesn't indicate how he's actually feeling. And, a lot of people do that in the real world. They hide how they're feeling and they let it eat them up on the inside. And, the show does a great job of portraying that from a more serious note as well.
Yeah.
So it's excellent. I mean, it's not perfect. There are a few campy bits, throughout the show, but I kind of I glossed over those because of how good the show is overall. And every now and again, in terms of the narrative, there's a little bit of a predictable this and a predictable that, but overall, it's genuinely very good. And if you're looking at enjoying a proper good comedy, one will make you laugh, maybe even cry, because I did, watch Ted Lasso. It really is an exceptional TV series, and there is a reason why he, I think, was nominated for and won the Golden Globe for his role. It's very, very good. It's very, very, very good.
But now,
have you seen it?
The thing is, sorry, I don't know if I interrupted you now because you cut it just a little bit. But the thing I wanted to ask is, so far every single Apple TV show you've reviewed was pretty much good or exceptional. So my question, not really pertaining to Ted Lasso, but is Apple TV the new Netflix in terms of
that is a
shows
very
made?
Good question.
Because so far every time you were speaking about a show, you sold me on it, and then I watched it, and then I loved it, and that doesn't happen often.
Look, it's not perfect. I don't think anything ever is. But I also do feel that their shows have a certain level of quality that you don't often see throughout a portfolio from a single subscription service. And by that, I mean, Netflix in the beginning was fantastic, was phenomenal. Things like, more recently, The Witcher is fantastic. It's not perfect, but it's fantastic, especially if you enjoy the games and the lore and so on and so forth. But there's also some real crap on Netflix. Stuff that looked fantastic, and then you watch and you're like, who is this for? Because it's obviously not me, the one that's been raised on the excellence of Stranger Things and Netflix and some of the much bigger, higher profile series. And then you get disappointed when you watch the new thing and you're like, this is nothing like the way they've portrayed it to be. Now, I would say Apple TV isn't, I mean, there are some duds. They're few and far between. And maybe when I say duds, I don't mean in terms of quality. I just mean in terms of the audience they're going for. So, like M. Night Shyamalan's Servant. I somewhat enjoyed the first season. I didn't think it was that amazing to begin with. But we watched it. We persevered. We pushed through. And it had a very interesting premise. And the reason why I'm bringing this up specifically as an example is because we've started watching the second season, and I'm just not into it. Watch the first, and it's not that the quality has decreased. It's exactly the same. It almost feels like it's just an extension of the first season.
Oh, okay. It's just too much, maybe.
So I think it's just the kind of show. So I know some people will thoroughly enjoy Servant, but I guess for me, I've just sort of, my interest has waned a little bit. Then again, I really enjoy things like Ted Lasso now, for example.
Yeah.
Or The Morning Show, which honestly is excellent. If you haven't watched The Morning Show, that is an exceptional TV series to also consume. And now that's very different. It's not a comedy, that is very much a drama, but it's so good. There are a lot of other Apple shows like C, for example. So I would say that C is on par with Servant. It's kind of like, it's interesting, you can put it on, you can watch it, but I myself personally, I don't know if I'm going to go back. Like, we still haven't finished the first season of C.
That's a shame.
And that's not because it's bad. It kind of got good, but at the same time, I just didn't feel the pull towards it.
Okay.
I will say that I think HBO Max is a network that I feel is consistently producing incredible stuff, especially now with all the movies that are coming out.
Yep.
And one of those movies is Godzilla vs. Kong.
Yep.
Avoid, avoid, avoid.
Oh. I thought you were going to sing I Praise It.
Okay, listen. Okay. Godzilla vs. Kong is trash. But my gosh, is it good trash.
Now you know how I feel about Justice League, the original one. Okay.
So, what I mean by that is, and I'm just going to speak about the film, it's not really the kind of thing that there's not really spoilers. We actually already mentioned half of the stuff that was going to be in it. So I'm just going to speak about it. To me, it felt like a ludicrous 90s action film. In the sense of, you know those ones where everything is OTT and like there's 300 things happening at once, and even the way that it's shot, even the humor, it's so campy. And I'm like, why? How is this?
Because we don't have enough of that anymore. That's the thing.
No, I don't want that. I want serious discourse between Kong and Godzilla. And
discourse.
Yeah. Hold on.
Okay,
wait.
Mr. Lizard.
Before you judge,
Okay,
Kong knows sign language and can speak to the humans in this film.
I saw that.
Okay.
I did see that.
So yes, I now want a discourse between these creatures. or rather, look, I watched it. I watched 2 hours of Godzilla vs. Kong. Do I regret it? No, not necessarily. I do feel I could have probably done something better in those 2 hours. Like, there are a lot of other things that are in this list that I still want to speak about, which are far superior than Godzilla vs. Kong. But
that's sad.
In terms of a movie that you just throw up, and you kind of... Oh, I don't mean throw up like vomit. I mean, like... although it sometimes felt that way.
Yeah.
That you put up on the screen. The kind of thing that plays out and you can browse TikTok. Does that make sense? On the side?
Yeah.
It's not awful. It's bad, but it's not awful. The scenes with Godzilla and Kong battling were fantastic. They did a great job. It was really cool to see these two characters go head to head. The things that I did like about it include the fact that, now, this is maybe my ignorance. So I actually thought that I had previously seen the previous Godzilla movie. It turns out that I haven't seen it. So I haven't even seen the previous Kong movie. Now, apparently all of these form part of a universe that the studio has actually tried to create. So I only found this out afterwards, so I felt a little bit like, But then at the same time, I was like, I'm not going to go and watch those. It's not that great for me to now go and spend 4 hours catching up to watch this film.
But
was it? So the reason why I'm bringing that up is because in the film, they talk about the world knowing Titans. And before I realized that there was a cinematic universe, I was like, that's super cool. I dig the fact that humanity knows. This is not, it's not that kind of a story. Because I went in thinking it's like an origin thing, Godzilla versus Kong, and then they come out and they fight and blah, blah, blah. But it's not. It's actually an extension of an already available universe. And so because of that, there's no origin whatsoever. You're thrown into knowing that Godzilla is a Titan. Everybody knows what Titans are. Godzilla has beaten Ghidorah and Mothra and all of these other creatures already. And the only one that Godzilla hasn't fought against is Kong. And that's because in the film, they're keeping Kong contained. And I'm assuming that happens at the end of Kong Skull Island, a previous film. And so by keeping Kong hidden away from Godzilla, they feel it's protecting Kong from Godzilla. Now, not to ruin the film, but it's quite clear about 3/4 of the way through that Earth has two protectors, and it's not just Godzilla. I'm not going to tell you how they show it or what they do to imply that, but it's pretty obvious that Kong and Godzilla are meant to be Earth's protectors. And in addition to having really bad sci-fi to show it off, and in other words, like, it's completely unbelievable. Now, don't get me wrong, I like suspensions of disbelief, but I prefer them when they're a little bit more grounded in reality, kind of like Interstellar, exceptional movie. So, they throw a lot of stuff at you, and you're just like, this is absolutely impossible. This is rubbish for good reason, because it's really just crazy. And then it turns out, yes, Godzilla and Kong, they're both meant to protect the Earth. And that's why, even though they basically fought to kill each other, Godzilla basically gives Kong a, hey, partner, a nod and goes off into the sea. It's
Why did you say that name? Why did you say that name?
Just as ridiculous as I'm telling you, the way that this sounds is literally the film. Oh, and yes, we were right. There is Mechagodzilla, and it's so obvious that there's going to be Mechagodzilla. They actually basically tell you from the start that there's a Mechagodzilla, because there's this whole other plot point of, get this, a podcaster, which really gave me a good giggle, because this is a podcast, and he's into conspiracy theories about Kong and the Titans and blah 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 blah. So it's a really bad film, but if you have nothing better to do and you want to just watch something that's gung ho 90s action, totally OTT, and you eye roll at the things that happen, this is the film for you.
To be fair, and I even tweeted about this, it's Godzilla versus Kong. You're expecting 2 hours of Godzilla smashing, okay? That's
not the kind of smashing that we really wish there was.
Not even that, please.
We're not even at the NSFW section yet.
So I don't know. To me, it sounds like just another action flick.
It is, but understand, like, we have action like Tenet or Inception. Then you have action like Godzilla vs. Kong, which is kind of like, I don't even know what else to compare it to. It's like Batman vs. Superman.
Like Fast and Furious action.
Oh, no. Don't. I don't watch Fast and Furious movies. I think I watched the first 2 or 3 and then I was done. But actually, no, you're actually right. That is the kind of action we're talking about here. That, like, it's fun, it's lighthearted. You don't think too much about it. The more you think about it, the worse it is. So just don't think about it. Just take a step back and
just enjoy it.
And just enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah.
So overall, I would give it an average, maybe somewhat disappointing. It had some good bits, but it's by no means a great film. But it is something, if you really have nothing better to do, like maybe if you're watching kids, because it is very kid friendly. There is even a human kid storyline, which I was just like, that could be cut and you wouldn't miss any of it. And just, I have to say, it's like such dumb things. Like Millie Bobby Brown is in this, okay? And we all know her from Stranger Things.
Yes.
And there's this whole storyline of her sneaking into like bases and stuff. And I'm just like, how? And she just does. And you just like...
She's just there.
No, she somehow goes from being outside to into 2 secret bases at 2 opposite points of the world, and then she confronts the evil guy, which we all knew was evil from the beginning, obviously, because it's predictable. And it's just like, that's not possible. A 16-year-old could never do that. Because in the real world, if you go somewhere, I mean, for goodness sake, where I'm staying here on the beach, there's a house up the road here. It's beautiful. It's magnificent. They have guards. What's to say that a secret base doesn't have guards? Come on.
Maybe they're trying to get the Stranger Things universe into this
Godzilla
universe they're creating.
She's been there from the
And
beginning.
she goes into the other, and
goes through. We won't speak too much about that because there is a hollow Earth theory in the film, and then they go through like gravitational warps, and it's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous film, but I think I don't want to say they did it justice, because I feel, what I would have liked to have seen. I would have liked to have seen something. I mean, not to say brutally realistic, but how cool would it be to see a film whereby these are actual creatures? I'm not to say that they're not sentient and that they don't have intelligence, because we know, for example, that apes and gorillas are intelligent. But wouldn't it be great to see a raw, ferocious creature just coming out of the wilderness, battling this lizard from the sea? Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like there's none of this. I'm going to hand signal that I want to go home to you and rubbish. Like, I love you and stuff like that. Okay, and there we go, ladies and gentlemen. As you saw, there was a bit of a downtime there. We're trying to do this without editing, but unfortunately, the program that we use just died in order to speak to each other. And weirdly enough, on my side, get this, Ed, get this. Because you told me now that you couldn't, it was telling me that I was offline, right?
Yes.
When I closed the program, it actually stopped my video recording, which I thought was very strange because it shouldn't do that. My camera is recording my face. It actually stopped that as well. So so in other words, what I'm trying to get at is everyone is going to see a glitch. For those of you who are watching, you'll see it. For those of you who are listening, you'll just hear me talking about something and then boop.
And suddenly it's off.
Suddenly there's nothing else.
Yeah, that's weird. I think it was Team Links being weird.
Anyway, no worries. Well, we're back. Yeah. We were just talking about Godzilla versus Kong and how I wanted something more of a realistic version, and then I asked your opinion.
Yep. I didn't hear the opinion part. So.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. Let me just move into another film that I watched, and it was called Promising Young Woman. And one weird thing that I have to mention is that a lot of the films that I'm speaking about on this list today, well, not a lot of the films, just the two at any rate, have been nominated for a lot of Oscars. And now I actually want to talk to you about that because I'm wondering if this is just because there've been hardly any good movies. And so because 2020, everything's been delayed.
Yes.
And, is that the reason why some films like this film have like 6 Oscar noms? Anyway, let me talk about the film first before we get into that.
Actually.
Okay, so Promising Young Woman. It sounds like this like Charles Dickensian film, et cetera, et cetera. But it's not. What it's about is it's a film that stars Carey Mulligan in the lead role. Mm-hmm. And she is a 30-year-old woman who makes it a point to go out into the world, into bars and things, act like she's completely inebriated and intoxicated, and then gets nice guys to go home with, whom she then gives ample opportunities for them to say no or to actually do the right thing and take her home. For those who don't, for the really seedy, gross dickheads out there who take advantage of women who are intoxicated and inebriated, what she does to them, she teaches them good lessons. And what I mean by that is she can either be ultra violent or she gives them a dose of their own medicine. Like there was one guy that she took back home, went back to his place, even though she kept on saying she wanted to go home. And then when she asked for an Uber, he was like, no, don't worry, blah, blah, blah. And then the moment, then he starts feeling up, his hands are going down there and he starts, caressing that part of her body against her will. Mm-hmm. And then she just, you see that in her eyes, it just flicks where she's obviously been acting. And then he all of a sudden gets so like, takes like a step back and he's like, what? You're not intoxicated? And she goes, does that make a difference? No, you know what I mean? Anyway, then yeah. She teaches him a lesson. I don't want to go into that because that's a great part of the film and what she does. It's a very interesting premise, and it's sad and unfortunate that we live in a world where so many men are like this, where, you'll see a lady and you know what? It doesn't matter what she's wearing. It doesn't matter how intoxicated she is. You shouldn't feel that you can take advantage of that situation because that's just disgusting. It is unconscionable. And really, you should be looking out for people like that. You should be wanting her to get home safely. And you know what? It doesn't matter if she does this every day, 3 times a day. It doesn't give you the right to take advantage of her. Yeah. All right? The same applies for if there's an intoxicated guy and, a woman takes advantage of them. But that's it doesn't happen as often as men taking advantage of women. Either way, consent is consent. And if people are saying no, or if people are saying, take me home, whatever the case is, it doesn't matter what gender they are, do the right thing. All right? Because anything else is wrong. Yep. And that's just one of those, that's just one of those things. It's not you believe in something different. No, that's just wrong. Okay?
Yep.
Anyway, sorry, yeah?
Also, the lack of an answer is still a no.
Yes. Unless they're specifically going, yes, daddy, pound me. The answer is no. Okay? Yes. Correct? That's no. But even then, even if they're saying yes, if they're so inebriated, they can barely put a sentence together, you should be saying no, regardless of whether they're be able to say no or not.
Yep.
Okay? Anyway, sorry. I'm getting very heated there about that. So
good.
The film is is really interesting in that regard, and how, she goes about and she does these things. And there's a reason why she does it, and it has to do with an old, her best friend and what happened to that friend. And, the film goes through how Carey Mulligan's character goes through all the people who wronged her and her friend. And then there is an absolutely crazy twist at the end, which I'm not going to spoil for those of you who want to watch the movie. But let me just say, I did not see that coming. Or maybe I thought, oh, okay, that might happen. But geez, the fact that they did it is quite eye-opening.
Okay.
Look, it's an entertaining film. It kept us wondering what was going on and who's she going to get next and what is the actual motivation behind her character. And it's good. It's a good film. Promising Young Woman. Check it out if you have the opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Now, another Oscar-nominated film, and this I understand why it's Oscar-nominated. It's called The Father, and it stars Anthony Hopkins and Olivia Colman. If you are unfamiliar with the name Olivia Colman, she is the Queen in Netflix's The Queen, at least from season 3 onwards. And it's not a spoiler, but it's a film that has to do with dementia, and it focuses on Anthony Hopkins' character and his slow descent into madness.
Yep.
And it's extremely well done. Anthony Hopkins, I think he was nominated for an Oscar for this. I stand to be corrected, but I'm quite certain he has been. It is an exceptional role. And interestingly enough, he plays a character called Anthony. So I was wondering myself if perhaps being named after the character and portraying this character, if it didn't add a little bit of extra to the role, because Anthony Hopkins is old, he's in his 80s.
Yeah.
And this character is also in his 80s, so I was wondering if he drew upon the fact that he's this age, and what if this was happening to him? And it's a very, very powerful role. Just to watch him lose his faculties, mental faculties, and how he's unable to discern what is real and what is not real. And for us, the viewer, you have no idea either. It does a really remarkable job of showcasing what people go through when they have dementia. And it's a very heavy film, so it's not the kind of thing that's lighthearted. Don't watch it if you want to feel good afterwards, because it ends on a very somber, very sad note. But it is an excellent film. I can say that much. I would say it's between good and exceptional, just because it's as great as it is a very intense movie. Anyway, so there we go. The Father.
It looks amazing. It's on my watch list after I saw the trailer. So
okay. One last TV series before we move into some of the content, and that is Netflix's original Alice in Borderlands.
Oh. Yeah.
Do you know anything about it, Ed?
I saw the trailer and it looks like anime meets real.
Okay, it is a
life.
live action anime. That is actually exactly what I think every time I watch an episode. Full disclosure, I haven't finished the season yet, but I've watched enough to know whether or not it's good. We're about halfway at this point. And it's great. It's well shot. It's well acted. Well, I mean, acted from a Japanese context, I would assume. It's got all of that OTT drama that an anime has. The same like screaming when things happen. It's very good. Now, what is it about exactly? We're still trying to figure that out. But essentially, look. What I mean by that is there's a mystery surrounding the show, and what basically happens is initially it starts off with 3 best friends. Which are all archetypal. So you have the guy that works in a bar because he's the badass. You get the absolute good-looking but slacker guy, and then you get the wimpy nerd who cries for everything. So they're stereotypical Japanese anime characters, and they're best friends. Yep. And so the series starts off with the 3 of them hiding from police because they cause a bit of a ruckus in Shibuya Square. Not that they really did. They just thought the police were following them, and they go into a bathroom stall together just to hide, and boom, everything goes off. The power, internet, everything dead. When they come out of the bathroom stall, Tokyo is deserted. There is nothing. There is no one. It's just empty. Eventually, after several hours of wandering around, they come across some light. So they walk up to it. They walk in, and they see like this thing, and it says game. All right. And they walk in and they pick up these new cell phones, which automatically register their faces via facial recognition. And then it's like entrant registered. And they're like, what the hell is going on? Anyway, to cut a really long story short, what happens is they're now in this unique version of Tokyo. Now, I can't tell if it's some crazy future or if it's an alternate timeline. But essentially what happens is it's kind of like the Hunger Games, but on steroids, whereby there are these games that occur around Tokyo. And when you enter into one, there is a playing card that signifies the level and what is in store for you. So for example, if it's like a 7 of hearts, it means it's a level 7, which is a high level, and hearts means that you're probably going to betray your friends. Or if it was like a 4 of clubs, 4 is a level, cool. And clubs is, nothing to really worry about. It's a basic ass card, And the other thing is you can't leave a game once you've entered it. Because if you do, you automatically get lasered in the head from the sky and you die. Okay, so it's a very interesting premise. And the reason why I liken it to the Hunger Games is because every game is different. And in every game, somebody dies. Whether you like it or not. That's how it is. It's basically fight for survival. And it's genuinely entertaining. And also, if I dare say, those two idiots who ruined Game of Thrones, they were all about subverting expectations. Let me tell you, this show subverts those damn expectations. Like the last episode I just saw, I was like, WTF, how could you do that to these characters? It's good. It's great. In the sense of, it keeps you on your toes. Amazing. You want to keep watching. You keep wondering how the F are these puzzles, how they're going to solve them. What do they mean? How do they get to the beach, which is some secret thing that nobody knows about. And we still don't know what that's about yet. But it's very, very interesting. And I'm very, very keen to see where it goes, further on. And I would say it's a good show. I wouldn't say it's exceptional, but it's definitely a good show.
Sounds amazing, actually.
Now, that's basically concluding most of our reviews and previews, and now we're going to launch into some wonderful content. And do you know what is amazing, Edward?
Cats.
I mean, cats are great. Dogs are better. Don't at me.
I'm just thinking about cats because I don't know.
Apple Pay is finally in
oh my
South
gosh,
Africa.
I forgot about that.
But only if you are with ABSA, Nedbank, and Discovery Bank.
See, that's bullshit, and that's why I forgot about it.
Yes. You and me both. Let's enter this rant, okay? So first of all, Apple Pay is phenomenal. If you aren't aware of what Apple Pay is, think of it as an integrated digital card in your digital wallet on your Apple Watch, iPhone, iPad, or MacBook that you can make purchases with online or actual in-store. It's absolutely phenomenal. It's super easy to use. It is far more secure than even Android Pay, as far as I understand.
Yeah.
And it's finally available to us in South Africa. I'm lucky enough because I've had accounts from abroad which support Apple Pay, so I've been using it for a while. But I've been waiting for the local launch because not every store supported it. Now it's different. Now that it's here and it's officially here and, South African banks officially have adopted it, it means that I can actually use it in almost every location,
Finally.
But again, like we said, there are only 3 banks at the moment, and that is just ridiculous. So, Edward, I know you with FNB, yes?
Yes.
As am I. Now, for the longest period of time, FNB has been the forward-thinking bank, right? They're the one you go with if you want to have the cutting edge features. And they've totally dropped the ball. And there is literally no reason why. So, for a time, and I discussed this with Edward, I thought, it's because they have their own digital offerings. So they're prioritizing those over Apple Pay. Bullshit. And the reason why I say it's bullshit is because Discovery Bank has it, and Discovery Bank has the same, if not better, digital implementations on their accounts. So what then is the real excuse? We don't know. And if you thought we were going to tell you, I'm sorry to disappoint.
Money. It's money.
Edward is actually correct, because my understanding is that in order to use Apple Pay, I think there's a very small percentage of each transaction that runs through to Apple.
Yep.
I stand to be corrected, but I do think that is the case. And I know that some banks don't want to do that. I mean, you're being foolish if you don't, because it's an absolutely incredible implementation and everybody with an iPhone wants to use it. Anyway, I have now, without giving too much away, opened a Discovery Bank account because I want that Apple Pay. Okay? And if FNB doesn't get their act together, I will literally move over to Discovery Bank because, and weirdly enough, this is not a paid segment, the app is incredible. If I knew that Discovery Bank's app was this good, I would have moved over ages ago. Ages ago, Ed. I'm telling you now. They have made this thing like a modern app. You want to find something? It's there. You want to copy your account number? It's there. Try do any of that in a typical banking app, including the FNB app, which is a nightmare. Sorry. And even then, it's one of the better banking apps compared to like Capitec and Absa and that.
And Absa, yeah.
But compared to Discovery, I am in awe of how good this thing. I didn't even pick up the phone or have to visit a bank in order to open and get approved for an account. Everything was digital. Everything is in the app. That's how you submit documents. They don't even have a login portal on the website. You have to do everything through the app. It's absolutely incredible.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's super, super cool. It's very, very different. I will, of course, once my card eventually gets delivered, only then can I activate Apple Pay. So probably next week sometime. Assuming I even leave the house to use it. Besides the point, I just want it. I will let you know if I think Discovery Bank is worth being with. But right now, I'm incredibly impressed by it. The other cool thing also is if you're already with Discovery for other things, like I am with medical aid and insurance, that all adds to your profile. And then they actually give you like discounts and stuff, for, like flights and things. And just as from a very quick overview, it's already to me better than the eBucks program with FNB. So I haven't publicly announced this, or I haven't told you this yet either, but I'm actually moving over my savings to Discovery because FNB was only giving me, I think, 2.9%, and Discovery immediately is giving me 3.5%.
Because you're a customer.
You mean a customer of? Oh no, just
Discovery.
no, just 3.5 because I've opened a new account.
Okay.
And that can rise to 4.5 if I do even more things with my account. They call it behavioral banking. So the more things you do with it's very cool. It's very interesting. It's very interesting. So the more you do with your Discovery card and your Discovery account, the higher your perks. The better your perks. So like for me, now moving my savings over will give me an extra, I think it's like 7,000 points towards like whatever tally that they've got going, and then that will, or I think it's going to move me up to silver from bronze, and that already then gives me extra benefits. So it's quite cool. Not gonna lie.
That is cool. It sounds cool. Yeah. With that said, we have to note that from the banks that don't have Apple Pay yet, FNB is the only one that actually came out and said that they are working with Apple to get it implemented.
Well,
all the others are mum about it.
Yeah.
So well, look, whatever that means.
We can assume that RMB and will work. It's the same as FNB. FNB and RMB are the same. So whenever that happens, that happens. But yeah, it is 100% correct. Look, personally, now that these three have it, I can foresee a lot of the other banks jumping on soon.
Yeah.
Because they're going to lose out. Look at me now. I've been with FNB for, a good 15 years? And I've already now just opened a Discovery Bank account because I want Apple Pay as an Apple user. That's what I want. Plus now I'm seeing that they actually have like better benefits. So yay me.
Yeah, why not?
So what Edward actually spoke about just now was when he was mentioning Garfield, because he was actually trying to segue into this other topic that I saw.
I forgot about the Apple Pay.
So what I'm going to say is I'm looking forward to eventually going to a restaurant and buying lasagna. Boom, boom,
oh my
boom.
gosh.
And why lasagna? Because it's Garfield's favorite food. That's how you do a segue, Edward.
I'll never be able to do it properly, okay?
All right, so why Garfield? He is still around. I think one of my favorite subreddits is I've forgotten the name now, but it's where I'm sorry, John. Go and check it out if you get a chance. And that's not why I'm speaking about this, but go and check out the I'm sorry, John subreddit. You'll thank me later.
Okay.
So why Garfield? Well, because there has been a mystery in France, specifically on the coastline of Brittany in France, where pieces of a Garfield telephone have continuously been washing up on a beach for close to 30 years.
Of a single telephone?
No, I mean, a Garfield telephone that was made, I think in like the 80s or the 70s or something. But pieces of it for like the last 30 years have continuously, like hundreds of pieces. So not just one phone. I mean, if it was one phone, there would be too many pieces. You wouldn't know what pieces belong to it. So what I'm saying is, of one particular designed phone, hundreds of its pieces over the last 30 years have continuously washed ashore on this beach in France. Now, for the longest time, people couldn't fathom where it was coming from. And they did searches, and for whatever reason, couldn't find it. And they thought maybe some tanker sank and it's under the water. And regardless of where it was coming from, people knew that it was some form of an ecological disaster, to an extent, because,
that's cool.
I mean, over 30 years, plastic hasn't deteriorated. Some of these phones still look as good as the day they were probably manufactured, just to showcase how the things that we create are not great for the environment. They don't actually break down the way that they should, or that they should be designed to. Anyway, some people had enough of this mystery and were like, we need to get an end to it. So what ended up happening is there was this French publication and they called France Info, and they actually sent out a bulletin saying, listen, there's a pollution alert, these Garfield phones. If you have any more information, please let us know. And weirdly enough, a farmer in the region spotted it and was like, yeah, I know exactly where they're coming from. So first of all, I'm just like, why did it take them that long to, make this more of a public matter, first of all?
but secondly, why does a farmer have to do anything?
Yeah. So why a farmer? And why does it sound weird that it's a farmer? So it's not because it turned up on his farm or whatever, but when he was a kid, get this, when he was a kid, he would explore a certain rock formation with his cousins. And in there, they found a cave. And in that cave, they found a container. And in that container were these Garfield phones. I guess as kids, they didn't feel the need to tell anybody about it, right? Or maybe even if they did, the parents probably just shrugged it off.
Maybe. It was a smuggler's cove full of phones.
Yeah, think about it as a kid. You'd be like, yeah, treasure. Because I know I would. Cool. And I wouldn't even bother. I mean, maybe now as an adult in retrospect, but I mean, I wouldn't think back and be like, oh, that was an ecological disaster. I would have been like, that was a wondrous childhood, paradise of fun. Anyway, he reached out, took them there, and they were disappointed. Because after 30 years of these phones being washed from the cave out to the beaches, they were basically all gone. So it's not like they could have even stopped it or, cleaned it up or whatever the case is. And if many of you are wondering, how is it they never found this cave? It's because it's a tidal cave, meaning that when the tide comes in, it literally covers the entrance. And that's why nobody can see it. And it also means they're very dangerous, especially if you don't know the tides and you're now exploring this cave and it starts coming in. Anyway, the mystery of the Garfield phone that has been washing up on France's beaches for over 30 years. It also goes to show
that's cool
how people didn't care enough. I mean, this thing has been washing up for 30 years. Some environmental group should have stepped in ages ago.
Yep. If there's one thing I've learned from humanity is that if someone isn't directly affected, they don't care.
Even then, Ed, I mean, there's so many things going on in the world at the moment where groups of people are being directly affected, but no one is doing anything because they're afraid of the superpower's retaliation.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Yeah. You don't want to be cancelled, but it's China.
So, moving
now,
right
on to even more depressing news, because this is what you subscribe to Gettle for. From one ecological disaster to another.
Gosh.
Y'all, the Amazon rainforest. We are reaching a very unfortunate tipping point. And the sad news that I'm about to tell you all now has to do with the fact that the Amazon rainforest is officially no longer a carbon sink.
Yep.
Meaning that for the longest amount of time, we've all known that the Amazon rainforest absorbs more carbon than it releases. It actually, because it's trees and so on and so forth, trees consume carbon dioxide to produce oxygen.
Yep.
And at the same time, it also acted as a carbon sink, meaning that when it absorbed the carbon dioxide, just because of the nature of the Amazon forest and all of the plants and the matter and the soil and so on and so forth, it actually held onto the carbon, more so than it pushed carbon back into the atmosphere. Unfortunately, for the first time ever, scientists have recorded that the Amazon rainforest is no longer carbon neutral. It is actually the opposite, and it is now contributing more carbon dioxide than it is absorbing. And
Contributing?
Yes. So, in other words, in the past, it would absorb far more carbon dioxide than it released back into the atmosphere. It became a carbon sink. Just remember, it still releases carbon dioxide. Plants have to breathe.
Exactly.
Okay?
That's how they make oxygen.
Yes, but what I'm saying is they also release carbon dioxide. In other words, it pulls it in, and then they also, but fractionally. In other words, it absorbed more carbon dioxide than it released back into the atmosphere. Before now, it was more oxygen and more, better nitrogen, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that is no longer the case, and now it is no longer carbon neutral. It's actually the opposite, and it's now releasing more carbon dioxide than it is capturing. It's unfortunate for a variety of reasons, but it's not irreversible. So, and this is going to be shocking. Of all of the deforestation that has taken place, only 17% of the Amazon has been destroyed. That's still quite a large number if you think about it. And the Amazon rainforest is one of the most important rainforests in the world for a variety of reasons, whether it's looking after the ecosystem of the planet, and so on and so forth. But specifically because it was acting as a carbon sink.
Mm.
Well, it turns out that should the destruction get to 25%, the forest will actually collapse.
Wow.
The entire integrity of the forest will collapse. And if that does, well, that's it for us, eh? That's one of the few things that will just be over for us.
Talk about...
So, I mean, look, we're at 17 of 25. So we're not there yet, but the Brazilian government is not really going to do any actions. I mean, they haven't for the last 50 years. So, I mean, what are they really going to do?
That's sad.
I know. What do you think about this, Ed?
The thing is, we just spoke about people not intervening and not doing anything. This is pretty much the epitome of that, This is literally our lifeline. Oxygen is what we need. And it's thanks to the Amazon rainforest.
I mean, look, we can speak more about this, right? So, we all know that there's an ecological disaster happening at the moment with regards to overfishing. Again, thanks to China. Or one of the many nations in the world, but they're one of the biggest culprits.
Mm-hmm.
There's actually a great documentary on Netflix called Seaspiracy. I haven't seen it yet, but it's on my watch list, perhaps for next week's episode. And it talks about overfishing and so on and so forth, and the dire consequences of that. Now, understand that the higher the carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere, among many other things, so it's not just carbon dioxide, like methane from animals, for example, is one of the worst contributors of global warming or global climate change, on a global scale. So we're not actually, no, we reported about it in season 1. We've long passed the tipping point for overall global well-being. So this is just adding to that, I suppose. I'm trying to spin this in a positive way.
Soon every Waffle House is going to be closed for it. That's what we're trying to say.
On the positive side, I suppose, coffee could help.
Yeah, there we go.
So not only is the delicious golden beverage that kick we all need in the morning to feel good or at any other time of the day, it just so happens that coffee pulp is really, really, really good for helping forests regrow, especially if they've been
So-
decimated. So
So
after the news of the the Amazon one, I was like, "Ooh," you know, like we're already heading into this awful future. Like if you're having children now, what future are they even going to have? You know, that's like one of the honest. This is why Gen Z are all about doing nothing and y'all bitches in TikTok, because there's not going to be anything left. Anyway. So the coffee pulp that I'm speaking about is not coffee grinds. So the stuff that we enjoy at home, that's not what I'm talking about. Yes, that stuff is generally pretty good as fertilizer for your plants. This is not necessarily what I'm speaking about. So researchers from the University of Hawaii and ETH Zurich, what a strange name, what they did is they took coffee pulp, which is a byproduct of the coffee making process. So, you know, when
Yes.
they harvest the plants and they take the beans out and all of that stuff that's left over from that is considered coffee pulp. Now, it turns out that it's actually very nutrient rich. And what they did for this experiment is they spread 30 dump truck loads of coffee pulp on a 35 by 40 meter squared area. Specifically in Costa Rica, which everybody knows is one of my places that I have to go and visit one day because of Jurassic Park. Anyway, and they did 2 areas like this, one with coffee pulp and one without. And what they noticed was absolutely incredible. In fact, the scientists labeled it as dramatic, in the sense of that over a period of 2 years, what they found is that the treated area had 80% more covering from a growth perspective than the control area, which had no coffee pulp.
Yep.
And in addition to that, the trees and the fauna and the flora in the coffee pulp area were 4 times taller than in the control area.
That's
Meaning that the coffee pulp had absolutely incredible nutrients for these plants to grow and to thrive, to flourish. So it's incredible. Hey Ed, what do you think of this?
The thing is, while you were speaking now, we all know Brazil and Colombia. They are the where the most coffee beans come from in the world.
Yes.
So Brazil can literally just make their coffee and put all the pulp in the Amazon rainforest
and let it
all is
grow
well in the
again.
world.
Yes.
It's literally they have the resources to just do that. It's not even a case
literally
of
why
exporting.
I'm bringing it up and why I'm linking these two things together, because not only are they the problem, but they have the solution. Well, look. It's debatable whether or not it is a solution just yet. And look, the reason why is because the researchers did mention that they need more years of study, because yes, fine, in the 2 years that they've been conducting the study, they've seen remarkable results. But they need many more years to determine if the nutrients from the coffee pulp have any detrimental effects, whether that's on animals or
fauna
and flora, because maybe it's too nitrogen rich, or I don't know. You never know. You never know.
Yeah, I get that.
So, but you're not wrong. You're right.
The thing is, if I have a burn, okay, and it's very, very sore, and someone comes to me and say, put some aloe on it, just stick it on. We don't know what it does, but we do know it feels better. I'm immediately going to do that. Okay? If it gives me cancer in 5 years, fine. But by then I'll have a medical aid and be...
What? That is terrible advice. Please do not take Edward's advice. Well, look, everything's going to start somewhere, right? So let's be glad that they're doing this. This is a start for the possibility of, repairing the forest at a later stage.
Yeah,
I mean, the fact that there was an 80% increase in the treated area versus the control area is incredible. It's incredible.
See, that just proves that coffee is the fountain of youth. That is literally, this is the youth syrup. No?
Well, given how much we consume, I definitely do not disagree with you, Edwin.
There we go.
And so basically, other than coffee being this incredible, the byproducts of the coffee making process, also this is something else that I know we've mentioned before, but you do know that coffee production is influenced by climate change, right?
Oh.
Meaning that slight degrees in temperature change actually prevent the coffee plant from producing coffee beans. It's actually very sensitive.
Oh, wow.
So yes, let's please use coffee pulp to
Yeah.
make our forests better, to help reduce the impact of climate change so that we can always have coffee.
So what you're saying is a day is coming that we might not be able to grow coffee.
Yes. Yes, I'm telling you that, Edward.
Look at that.
Are you getting goosebumps? Which is why Harvard University have done a study, and actually a very, very long study, as a matter of fact. I think it was a 75-year-long study, which showcases what you can do in your life to be happy. And it's not coffee related, even though that's a definite plus. Because,
that's one of them.
Because what generally happens when you have coffee? Who are you normally around when you enjoy coffee, or if you go for coffee?
The toilet.
No. I said who, unless you're having conversations with your toilet bowl, Edward.
You never know. I don't know, family and friends.
Yes. So what is very interesting about this study, and it took place via the Harvard's Grant and Gluck, well, I suppose that's the name of the study actually. And as I mentioned, it was a 75-year-long study, and they tracked the physical and emotional well-being of 268 male graduates, as well as 456 poor men growing up in the city of Boston. So they took, obviously the affluent, or I guess those who had scholarships to Harvard, and then those who couldn't afford anything. Okay. And of all of these, almost 700 people, over 75 years, they tracked them, and that's incredible because that gives the study a lot of
credence,
credence, because it's long-term studies are costly and they're difficult to do, and it means that what they've found is legit, and we can take heed in it. Long story short, because coffee brings people together, the study found something pretty obvious, and although it's, to me anyway, it seemed like duh, it might not be that obvious to some people.
Yeah.
And the crux of the entire study is that you will live a healthier, happier, more fulfilling life if you have close, positive, healthy relationships. Now, understand, as somebody who's #foreveralone, this study showed that even if you're single until death, as long as you have friends or family around you who are part of the circle of close, healthy, and happy relationships, you will live a long, fruitful, and happy life. It's absolutely incredible. I thought it was just really wonderful, and it's something Edward and I have spoken about in our personal lives. How it's not the number of people you have; it really is quality over quantity.
Yeah.
I'll speak from a personal perspective. Over the last couple of years, my family and I, we've gone through a lot of trials and tribulations, and in that time, I have seen the people who were there for me, whether direct family or friends. And I don't know if it was subconsciously or just because I was like, you know what, I can see who are the ones that deserve, I know that sounds terrible, but who I should, to make myself feel more whole, is invest in the people who invested in me when I needed it the most. Yeah. When I didn't have anyone around, when they were there for me when I was at my lowest. So when I think about that, and I think about how today, years later, my really good and close friends are maybe on 2 handfuls, but like really, really good and close now, versus the tens and tens and tens. I don't want to say hundreds because that's a bit ridiculous. But the tens, but the many, many people that I used to keep in my life and in my friend circle. I used to, once upon a time, imagine, I'd have to have a wedding of like 500-600 people. Now, when I look at it, I'm like, no, I could easily do it 100, 120, maybe even less.
That much.
I know. You get what I'm saying, though. You get what I'm saying, right? You understand what I'm saying?
I get you.
So, and when I think about that, and I really think about the people whom I genuinely phone, not just text, but you call. and you participate in their lives. And yes, it's been very difficult with COVID. COVID has made things challenging for everyone, but I've seen the few who will still, for example, keep in touch with me with their phone. How am I doing? And I'll phone them and we'll speak for hours, and it doesn't feel like hours. Despite everything, it's the quality of these relationships that makes me feel good. I am alone and I don't have a partner, but I don't feel alone. Does that make sense? Like, I'm actually really happy,
You're in a good place.
Yeah. So anyway, the study is great. And if it is not obvious to those who are listening, if you have the ability to have close relationships in your life, do it. Take the time to nurture them, because relationships are challenging. But at the same time, if you're trying to nurture a relationship and there is no reciprocation, stop. Because that's an unhealthy relationship. Understand now, we're talking about the kind of relationship whereby, you speak to somebody and you talk to them, and then they also take time out of their day to communicate with you and talk to you, and, you share things, versus those where you're always calling them, you're always doing things for them, you're always trying to communicate with them, and then they seldom respond. You've got to also understand what a healthy relationship is in order for this to work. Yeah, that was the thing. So coffee leads to friendships, and friendships lead to happier lives.
Yeah.
Who knew? and from happy lives to offspring, if you're so inclined. And even if you're not able to do it naturally, Edward has some very cool information about what it means to still have children, even if you can't have it on your own.
Well, not so much cool information than a cool thing that happened.
Look, listen, the first thing that I thought of when I saw this was like, we can totally go to Mars. Like we can preserve humanity and send these. Okay, talk about it first, and then I'll speak about it.
Yeah. It's not so much that we can go to Mars; it's that we can send our children to Mars, and they can be born in 100 years' time.
I don't know about 100 years. So Edward, I've labeled it as Thawed Humanity.
Yeah, which is actually a cool label.
Yeah, it's going to be as part of the title, most likely, and it just has to do with frozen embryos, correct?
Yeah. So what happened is, we all know about in vitro fertilization, which is basically when someone is unable to conceive or they have difficulty conceiving, then they'll have the egg implanted in them, and the baby will grow that way.
Using in vitro fertilization, yes.
Yes. Turns out that you can also do the same thing with frozen embryos, which is quite interesting.
They're almost always frozen. Did you not know that?
No, I mean like frozen for years, frozen for long periods.
Because the thing is, okay. The whole thing here is yes, IVF can be done with them raw goodness, but they're never. That is a very. So I know of people who've gone through this process, and it's time consuming, it's expensive, it's emotionally draining. They go in, they harvest the egg, and you hope and you pray that egg is viable.
Yep.
Then they do the process where they artificially inseminate the egg with sperm from either your partner or somebody else, and then they put it into your body through IVF, and they hope that it takes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, on the opposite end of the coin, for those who aren't sure if they want to have children yet, they can freeze their eggs. And this is actually the point that Edward is trying to make here. Because generally, people who do that, maybe you'll freeze it for, 5 years? 3 to 5 years?
Not even, yeah.
Or maybe even less?
Yeah.
But in this circumstance, and it makes it a world record, from what I understand, this embryo was frozen for 19 years.
Yeah. The embryo was frozen in 1992.
When were you born, Ed? 91?
91, yeah.
So it's
right
almost as old as you? It's almost... Wow, it's almost...
It's pretty much...
So it's not 19 years then, it's 29 years. Yes!
Yes!
You're 30.
Yes!
Wow! It's a 29-year-old embryo.
Yeah, it's actually... That's actually...
Wow.
Okay, well,
You see,
so that's
okay,
a thing.
so the whole thing is that after 29 years, they thawed it out, and it
Yeah.
took. The lady was able
Yes.
to have the
With-
child. Yes,
without fault. So
that's
basically, Ben and Tina, I think, are the parents' name, and they just had a very difficult time conceiving.
yes.
So this non-profit organization from Tennessee went up
A
to them
religious non-profit
and said, yes,
organization, I might add.
a faith-based one as
Yes.
well. They came up to these parents and they said, listen, we can help you. We have this thing that we want to try. It'll be uncommon because usually embryos aren't frozen this long. And are you interested? Thus, Molly Gibson was born. And it's literally
But it gets
a fact
better.
of,
It does. It does.
yeah, that's the thing. So Molly, essentially, the reason I found this interesting is because of how easily it was.
Well,
How
look,
easy it was
it's
for
not
the embryo
necessarily
to take.
that it's easy, because they have stats, right? And they say that
Yeah.
through the thawing process, I think it's only 70% of embryos make it through that, first of all. And then from an IVF perspective, it's much lower. I think it's between 30 and 40% of the embryo actually taking. So
Yes.
there are a lot of factors to take into consideration. So it
Yeah.
could also mean that, the lady who had Molly, which is now who has come from the world's oldest known frozen embryo and is
Yeah.
now a beautiful little girl. It could be that the mother had the perfect conditions for it. It
Yeah.
just so happens that it was the perfect conditions for it. But now,
What?
just adding quickly to this before, because I really want to speak about like the implications of this. Anyway, just quick. The cool thing about it is that this is the second time they've broken a record, because
Yes.
Molly has a sister who was born 3 years previously, who's also from exactly the same stock. Also a
Yeah.
1992 egg, the same fertilization. So it's really great because it means that these two little girls, despite that they're not biologically their parents, from a genetic perspective, they are at least biological sisters, which I think is so beautiful. It's so wonderful. And the fact that companies like this exist to help people have children like this is just phenomenal.
Yeah. And also what I also want to get at on top of that is that Tina herself is just about the same age as the embryo.
I know.
It's just, she was born in 1990. She's a year older than I am, and literally just basically a year older than the embryo. 2 years older than the embryo, which is fascinating. And I'm thinking maybe that's why she was the perfect candidate. Maybe it's because
I don't think so.
I don't know, she was born in an era. She was born with all the enzymes and stuff.
No. Just
I
remember
don't know.
that they've tried conceiving naturally for a long time and haven't been able to.
Yes.
So whether that's from the husband's side or whether it is somehow on her side, maybe there's some incompatibility. We're not too sure. They didn't go into specifics.
No.
Either way, they were able to have these embryos. And now there might be a question some of you have, and that is, where did these embryos come from? So what's cool about this institution is so as we mentioned before, people sometimes freeze their eggs, right?
Mm-hmm.
For a variety of reasons, whether it's because they don't want children yet, or maybe they want children later, whatever the case is. Sometimes they do it as a just in case, and then they have children naturally. This organization then goes to those people and is like, do you still want your eggs, or would you like to donate them? And as it turns out, more often than not, people actually donate because they are then happy that they have children. Maybe they don't want anymore, whatever the case is. They then donate them to couples who might not have the opportunity, and then they have children. So I actually wanted to ask you, before we get into the other application that I want to speak about, if you and Marianne had saved some eggs, right? Because let's say you don't want to have children now, but you want children in 5 years from now, right? And you obviously you save the eggs now, just in case Marianne runs out of eggs, because that is a possibility and it can happen to anyone.
Yeah.
Would you donate them? Would you allow other people to effectively raise what would have been your children?
Yeah. Easy.
Okay.
That's the thing is, at the end of the day, I don't believe in the whole biological thing in terms of parenting and love and familial links. because it just doesn't matter. Let's be honest. So yeah, if someone else can benefit from, let's say, Marianne's embryo, and let's say we already have a child, or she's still fertile enough to bear a child even with the embryo already out or whatever, yeah, I would donate. Easy.
That's lovely, Ed. That's awesome.
Yeah. What about you?
I don't have anyone to make those decisions with.
I know, but would you, if you could make the choice for this person in the future, would you be cool with this?
I'm not sure, if I must be honest.
Mm.
I don't know. I'm all for this kind of a thing, for if it was for myself and my partner, for us to have children, and if she was lucky enough to birth naturally and we wouldn't need, I don't know if I would be comfortable letting somebody with our genetic material have our genetic material. This is not because I don't think, it's just genetic material at the end of the day, right? But
yeah,
that is the future we're headed towards, where genetic material is going to be worth something. Now, I don't know. I would have to cross that, should I be lucky enough, because I honestly can't answer that right now.
Yes.
I don't know. I don't really fancy having thousands of kids around the world that are not mine, that are mine but are not mine. Does it make sense?
Well, you'll only have the one technically.
But you get what I'm saying, though. You get what I'm saying. Because there's always that weird little fear that, because you know how the universe will work, that one day my daughter will meet some guy and think that he's like this hunk, and it turns out to be her brother. You know how it is. In the 7 billion people, there will be that 1 in 1 billion chance that they'll meet. Okay?
That's some Hollywood shit. Was that other show we spoke about last week?
Anyway, yes, the one where you find your genetic match. You see, now if that happened, it would be great, because then, no, it wouldn't be great. Oh, I don't want to say it because it's a spoiler. If I tell you, it's a spoiler.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I'm going to speak about it now. If you haven't watched the one, skip forward like 30 seconds.
I'd say take this off and you can speak about it.
Now, do you still want to watch it?
I can't hear you.
Edward, put it back on. Yeah. Do you still want to watch it? Is that why you don't want me to talk about it?
Yeah, I do want to watch it.
Oh, well, then I won't speak about it then.
You can tell the viewers.
Nah, it's fine. You see, normally I would have edited out this weird interaction that Edward just did, but this is going to stay in now.
Of course it is.
Now, about that, Ed, last week you mentioned something to do with, what was it? It was facial recognition, that AI thing.
I don't know what I mentioned last week.
Deepfakes, man. You mentioned that you had something, and I see that it is here. And it's got to do with the light in your eyes.
This is not, I don't know if this is what I had, actually, because I remember mentioning something. But yeah, I only do the podcast on Sunday, and I already forgot what we spoke about. So there's that. Anyway, speaking of deepfakes, and I know that's what you were getting into. Turns out that maybe deepfakes can be spotted. Okay, well, we spoke about the technology.
We know Microsoft is developing anti-deepfake tech.
Yes.
To spot it.
Yes.
Now you're saying that there's another.
Yes. So
look, I just love this. I just love this.
In season 1, we spoke about companies figuring out technologies to spot the deepfakes. Now there's a new one, which is specifically, I think this one should be more accurate, and I'll get into that why in a second. But this new one is amazing, since it specifically goes into reflections and the way light works, which is not the way the usual deepfake spotting works. So usual deepfake spotting is all about looking at facial structures, looking at the way, if it's naturally placed on the head and the body. This literally looks at reflections. Now, it's a brand new AI system developed by scientists from the University of Buffalo. And it's apparently up to 94% accurate.
That's incredible.
Which is huge. Yeah.
But you see, this all goes towards the uncanny valley. You know how in CGI, no matter how good it gets, you can always tell it's not real.
Yes.
And they do say that one of the most difficult things to get right are the eyes.
Yes.
In terms of how they move and what they do. And I love how this tech is specifically looking at the light in your eyes to determine whether it's real or not. Because whether we like it or not, and I know this is going to sound a little bit weird, I suppose, but when somebody dies, the light disappears from their eyes. Okay?
Yeah.
So what if we're moving into more amazing sci-fi territory where this deepfake tech will be able to detect your soul?
Find out next week on the next episode.
What I'm getting at is that I think it's really cool that this kind of thing exists, and that it specifically has to do with the eyes and how, you know, we can tell from an uncanny valley perspective if something's real or not because of the eyes. And now they're using deepfake, this tech, to determine if deepfakes are real or not through the eyes. And I just, you know what they say, the eyes are the window to the soul. They say
exactly. It really
Who are they? I don't know, but people say it.
And speaking and on the topic of windows, this is specifically because, like you mentioned, the light goes out in the eyes when you're dead, and that's essentially true. That almost literally is true. The reason deepfakes aren't that convincing in terms of reflections and stuff the subject is around is because the deepfake, the thing you're deepfaking, will almost never have the same environment and the same conditions that the subject had. So unless you are recreating the environment as well when this video or this photo was taken, excuse me, that you are deepfaking onto now, you will almost never get a perfect
Do you know
match.
why I'm finding this hilarious? It's because this is like CSI, enhance.
That's literally it. So just take an AI that keeps enhancing until you're like there.
I mean, I'm just thinking, like, people have potato cameras out there. What definition are you getting from the eyeballs? That's what I want to know.
Listen, if I can do a 40 times zoom on a 2,000 Rand Huawei camera,
oh man, oh my gosh,
I am certain they can do something.
Look, this is actually incredible, and until you mentioned it now, I never really thought about that. You're actually spot on.
Yeah,
the eye reflects.
Yes,
not just the light, but your surroundings,
everything.
And but there's more to it than that, though. Anyway, look, I love the fact that it takes the surroundings into context.
Yeah,
and of course, right now, you know, we're looking at this now. You know the tech is going to happen where they're gonna envelop these deepfakes in 3D environments and create the environment as a reflection in the eye. I'm telling you, it's coming. It's coming.
Of course. This is just the next hurdle.
But even with that said, the uncanny valley, even with the right reflections, is still off.
That depends. Maybe
it's off.
Maybe the technology they're going to develop in order to combat this will inadvertently make it so movies and everything else can make it less uncanny.
Either way, I'm glad that they're developing tech like this.
Yeah.
Because we need it.
We do.
Deepfakes are scary. I mean, I don't know if we spoke about it, but the Queen had her address was the end of last year, and somebody made a deepfake about it where she said like totally random, like rubbish stuff.
Oh, that must be
And
scary.
News broadcasts took it up.
Oh, I
as
remember
fact.
that.
You remember that?
Yes.
Yes.
Gosh.
So you know this kind of a tech is needed because we have to be careful of things like that happening. Because you know one day maybe there'll be some random broadcast where it's like the current President Biden is like, oh, down with China, launch the nukes, and then all of a sudden the whole world is like, but it's
and it doesn't mic drop.
You know, actually the whole of Trump's presidency feels like a deep fake.
Right.
But that was just
to
him.
be fair. That's Asher 12 in the future playing Sims now and just cheating everything or something.
And probably advocating for the ring for your noodle. Welcome to NSFW. I
don't know if the Overlord themselves will advocate.
We don't know the gender. We don't know the gender. Yeah.
But anyway.
Okay, so tell us, Edward. Tell us about this ring for your noodle with a camera. And by noodle, we mean dick.
With the le penis, as we coined last week. So as we all know, or at least most of us know, cock rings exist. It's a thing that you put around the base of the shaft or the balls. And I don't know, it's a weird thing. I will never understand that, but to each their own.
No, I mean, they're enjoyable if you get the vibrating one.
Okay. Good to know.
The other ones, I don't see the point of the other ones because they always talk about how it's supposed to, like, you know, not cut off circulation, but to keep the blood. They're like, y'all don't need that. Unless maybe some of you need that. I don't know. To go longer, I suppose. Because I'm, you know, I'm 5 second guy, so I don't know.
Aren't most guys the 5 second
why
guy?
Why don't you get one and give it a go?
I'm not gonna spend money on something I'm not interested in.
They're cheap. They're cheap. You can get the cheap Durex ones.
The rings
with the little battery. Like,
well, I'm glad you know about this.
Just remember, look, the whole thing is people are always under the assumption. Well, even I was actually, because I was ignorant for a time.
Yeah.
That it's for you, it's for the guy. It's not. The vibration part, for example, is actually meant. It's on the base, so that when you're inserting, it's actually like going up against the clitoris.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. So it's also to enhance it for your partner. It's not just about you, Edward.
I know it's not about me. It's just weird. It's something I don't understand.
Back to this ring for the noodle.
Now that I know more about the cock ring, I know the context of the one with the camera, and it's literally called the cock ring with camera.
Gosh, and I'm just like, you know, they want to put a camera in an Apple Watch, and I'm just like, it's unnecessary. And now somebody's made this.
Yeah, it's. Listen,
please tell me, what is this for? What is this for? Before we get to the camera on the Apple Watch, what is this for?
It's for beautiful, never before seen video angles.
What?
From, I don't know, people have the close-ups. And they want to see the entire thing happen, I suppose. It's literally just that. I found this cool-ass post about it, and I went to the actual website for it, which is just thecockring.com.
Oh, lovely.
And they list all the specs.
It's the cock camera.
Sorry, the cock camera. Yeah.
Gosh, what a name.
And they list all the specs. They claim it's a revolutionary sex toy that allows you to record all your erotic moments at never before seen angles. Okay. Now, the way this works is it has a 32 gigabyte memory card in it.
Yeah.
I suppose you just pop it in and it saves. But it can also sync to your mobile device via the Photos
app.
That
is the last thing you need.
Or you can use this, and I quote, secure mobile app. Okay, so we all know how that works. Which you can sync the videos with. Disappointingly, the videos are only 720p. Which they claim is 4K. HD. Yeah, I thought it's at least
we want to see the shaft and the insertion in 4K. Otherwise, what's the point?
If I'm going that close, I want to be able to not have a blurry cam.
In which case, you might as well just strap on a GoPro. Think about it.
Yeah,
right?
I don't know why I'm down, but I was like...
I mean, it has all of the same functionality. It records in 4K. It even has stabilization, because you know you're going to be shaken.
Actually, the size of this thing is about the size of that Nano GoPro. So,
well, there we go. Everybody who's listening, we've just saved you money and time. You can just strap on a GoPro to the base of your penis if you want to have this kind of an effect. Not double-sided tape, but anyway.
What will you use to strap it on?
Actually, no. What you could do is you could get like a cheap cock ring and then stick it to that.
Okay, yeah.
One of those latex ones, not latex, sorry, silicone ones.
Yeah,
that's actually so much better. Look at this. Actually. We should design and develop. If y'all listening to this, we copyright this. We want 5% of whatever you sell. Copyright. It's a GoPro cock ring.
Yeah, GoPro hit us up.
Yeah.
We need
I mean, this doesn't do anything else, right?
It doesn't sponsor us.
This doesn't vibrate or anything else, does it?
As far as I know, it does not.
But, well then.
But it does have 6 lightless cameras for that cool infrared night vision. Okay. So it's immaculate in the dark.
It's still only 720p though.
It's still 720p, unfortunately. And also, I don't know entirely if this is a good thing, but it's got a 220 milliamp hour battery. Now, 220 is
what did
tiny.
they say? How long did they say it could go for?
They don't say.
You know what? Okay, well,
So,
then again, let's be real here. It probably doesn't need to go for longer than like 15 minutes, 20 minutes.
yeah, probably. But
So,
even then, I can't imagine 220 will go long, and it'll probably recharge for like 3 hours.
yeah. Either way, the GoPro with a silicone ring is sounding so much better.
Maybe?
No,
I
for
don't
real.
know. It's just so this is it's
I bet you something like that
revolutionary.
exists already. We're gonna have to go look at
That's the thing. So that's what I'm getting at. So this is revolutionary, okay? But is it though? I couldn't find any other products like this. But obviously, my Google food's not as good as yours, Hans. So
yeah, don't worry. I will look into this and let you know what I find by next week. Otherwise, let's just
maybe
make
we
our
could
own
talk
one
about the others
and sell
like-
it to the very
Otherwise,
niche market of people
let's just
who are going to
patent
want it.
our own with vibration.
Ooh, getting fancy now, hey?
Yeah,
Getting
see?
fancy. Actually, that's so easy to do because you get those little bullets, which have those little watch batteries in them, and they last for hours.
Oh well, there you go.
Don't ask me how I know these things, but anyway.
You just know things, apparently. But yeah, so if my watch ever had a camera, by the way, I wouldn't buy it. I think.
Why?
Because why would I want a camera on my wrist?
Look, honestly speaking, I think a camera on the Apple Watch is stupid. I don't think the quality is going to be very good. What am I going to do? You know what? If anybody is like, oh, you can just FaceTime from your watch, just take your arm up. Like actually raise your arm up to where your fist is in front of your face and see how long you can hold that up for. Because I can guarantee you now, it's very different to holding a phone in your hand at a different angle.
And
it's actually
like
tiresome.
Well, imagine
it's
how
actually tiresome, honestly.
Like,
and then also no, it's gonna add complications because you know that a lot of places don't allow cameras. So like if you go to like there's certain theme parks in the world where they don't allow cameras, including like the cameras that are built into spectacles or your phones, that kind of thing. So what? Now you're gonna take your watch off as well? No. I need my rings to be completed. Okay.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, that reminds me. Oh, I know we're in a different. Okay, this episode is really running very long, but I actually wanted to speak about Apple Fitness Plus. So I'll do it next week. I'll add it to the notes and I'll speak about it next week.
Okay.
So
and
speaking of
wonderful listeners, how it always happens.
Because you see, I'm seeing your next topic is called sex walking.
Yes.
And the thing is, I've been doing a lot of walking recently because of Apple Fitness Plus. Now, I'm not going to speak about it now. Like I said, I promise it's a full-on review actually because I have a lot I want to talk about. So on to this, because I really want to hear about this. I want to know why this... I've read a little bit of it and it sounds very rapey. So...
It does, I guess. So, yeah, as Hans said, sex walking is a thing, but...
You mean it's like sleepwalking?
It's like sleepwalking, but...
Oh,
so essentially all those videos you saw where the lady gets up and she's all nymphomaniac, that's half true, but also not. So I mentioned sex walking because that's the only way to describe it to someone who doesn't know what it is, essentially.
Yeah.
But it's the real name is Sexsomnia.
That's so much better.
I know, right?
That's so much better. I'm using that, okay? I'm using that for the title. That's better. Well, I'll either be sex walking or Sexsomnia.
Either way.
That's so good. That's so much
sex
better.
Walking sounds like a video name. It sounds like a movie.
No, it sounds like Walking Dead, but like the sex version, the porno version.
Well, that's the walking ass. Okay, so basically, the way I came down to this is I actually found the poll.
Oh, you came down to it, did you?
Yeah, I did. As I usually do when I find these posts. Actually, anyway. I found a poll where they asked British residents about
sex
if they have experienced sexual arousal during sleep. And now the reason I read into this much is because how would you? I don't understand how you would while you're unconscious, you know?
Yeah.
And that's how I found out that sexsomnia is a thing where your unconscious is literally, your body is literally needing, it is literally aroused and you literally perform actions while you're unconscious. And it's so weird.
So it is literally sleepwalking.
Yes.
Just the other way.
Yes, it's sex.
And they asked people, how would you know? People
That's
don't
the
know when
thing.
they
I
sleepwalk.
don't know. But according to this poll, 1 in 10 Britons unwittingly indulge in sleep sex. But they polled 13,000 British people, which is not a lot. And again, I ask how accurate this is.
But just before you carry on,
Yeah.
just a quick one, because this is an unedited episode. Your audio is sounding quite garbled on my end, so I'm hoping that that's not affecting your actual recording. But I guess we'll find out at the end.
See, I don't know. Everything looks green on my end still. Nothing's changed.
Well, anyway, if it is, it is. If it isn't,
I'm sorry.
Look, I'm personally hoping it sounds fine, but I'm just letting you know, because in the past, when Edward and I have done things like this, or when we do the podcast, sometimes if it sounds a bit weird when we're speaking to each other, we're not sure if it's the application we're using or if it's our local recording that gets affected.
Actually,
so
I think it might be Team Link, because I saw your video go all.
That's perfect then we can just continue.
Yes.
Gosh, this not editing is killing me.
I know. You're gonna pull this into Final Cut, and you're gonna be like, I shouldn't cut this. I shouldn't cut this.
Look, I have to listen to it all again, because I have to do the timestamps. Although, well, I mean, I should have been taking timestamps along the way now. That it would have made my life a lot easier. But for those of you who have been listening throughout the episode, we did have a bit of downtime earlier, and unfortunately, I can't not cut that. I have to, because we lost audio and video. So I have to cut it between where it went off and when it comes back. Otherwise, you're going to have dead air.
Otherwise it's going to be me going for like 15 minutes while we figure out why Aunt says he's offline.
Okay. Right.
Anyway.
30,000 people will... see, this is what happens. This is what you guys don't hear. When
we ramble a lot.
A lot. But generally, it's because of things like, oh, can you hear me? Is everything fine? We're always doing these like double checks, or somebody's walking in, and then we have to go back.
Listen, can you not now? It happens. So getting right on topic. Back into the correct forum. So, what sex walking is, and mental health experts, they are of the opinion that it's essentially a form of REM sleep, but the opposite one, the non-rapid eye movement sleep parasomnia.
Wow.
Geez. So instead of REM, it's non. So it's
non-REM.
RESP.
Anyway.
And it's basically a form where your body literally goes into a form of arousal due to triggers that happen. Now, these triggers can be anything from physical combat.
Jeez, Edward. What are y'all doing at home?
Physical contact. And sleep deprivation also triggers that. Even stress.
Wait. So you mean like lying in bed and your feet touch your partner's feet
while sleeping?
Boom, all of a sudden you're zombie sexing.
Yes, essentially. Now, what's even more intriguing is that they found that, I don't know how they found this, because I couldn't find the concrete papers on this, and also I'm not paying to go into that science thing that you need to pay for. They found that women are more likely to vocalize their sexsomnia, whereas men are more likely to fondle and actually have intercourse during their sexual arousal.
Okay, so you're saying, and this is just so typical of men and women, and why men are such bastards, is because the lady just makes noises, but the guy is legit getting up on top of you and having his time.
I don't know so much about
this is what you have written here.
I have written that basically the man will have his way.
Yeah, he'll have intercourse with what?
But the thing is, he's sleeping. So I'm wondering, like, will the woman wake up and be like, "Oh yeah, it's time"?
But what if she's like, "No, baby, I'm not in the mood."
See, and
he's just like, "Well,
wondering.
You see."
I haven't found any cases of reported rape around this, But I have found in the link we will put in the notes that one person have used this as an excuse for getting out of a rape situation before. Obviously, it was declined.
Can I give some context? And no
Yeah.
names, of course. But
Yeah.
I knew someone who once told me that she woke up with her
Mhm.
partner inside her.
Oh, wow.
He was busy, doing his thing.
But act consciously. Yeah.
No, the next morning when she was like, why did you do that? He was like, what are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about. Like,
Was
and
that
then,
an excuse?
and then, pardon?
Was that an excuse?
I don't know. And now that you're bringing this up,
See,
I'm like,
that's-
what if this was a case? What if this was, him also sex walking?
Sleepwalking. Yeah.
You see, I find it strange that why can't this happen from a guy's perspective, but he just masturbates? Why does it have to be intercourse here?
Yeah.
You know,
See,
it's
this is
such a-
only most often recorded. So maybe most guys do. I don't know. I'm not trying to justify.
No,
it.
it's
I'm finding
terrible.
it
I mean,
weird.
because the thing is, sleepwalkers, they are like dead to the world.
Yes.
They don't know what's going on. So is this the same here?
I
And then who's
assume
to
as
say
much.
that people can't just say this?
That's the thing. And
See,
I only
it's
found
hard- it's-
one court case where this was used as an excuse. And that's in the link.
I don't know. This
we're
is
putting down below.
This is not. I don't know. It's. I
It's
don't
not
like
on.
it.
Yeah,
I don't like it
it's-
because I feel people are gonna abuse it.
Yeah,
And say, "Oh, I was Sexsomnia."
yeah. It's,
Like
it just happened.
really, And then what if you actually have it? Nobody believes you.
That's the other end of the spectrum now. So
Oh,
people will
goodness,
abuse
Ed.
this. Now people won't believe the people that actually have
That
it.
actually have it. That's
Yeah.
always the case.
Yeah.
Always the case.
Anyway,
Goodness,
I found this
I'd love to know what
fascinating.
everybody else thinks. I'd love to know what everybody else thinks.
Yeah,
What do you all
please,
think
let us
about
know.
it? Do you have Sexsomnia?
Yeah, let us know as well.
Um,
And how do you know you have it?
That's the most important.
Yes.
Because people talk like just back to consent again. Because we spoke about the film earlier, and it's such an important topic.
Yes.
All right, and for something like this, even in a happy relationship, a partner can still say no.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as just because you're together, you're entitled.
Yeah.
There's no such thing. There's no such thing. So just imagine this scenario. You're with someone and this happens.
Mm.
But now you're allegedly like, can you wake up? If they hit you, do you wake up? You know what I'm saying, right?
See, I assume it's like normal sleepwalking where a
Can
tiny
you notice
bump
the difference
on your
as well?
head
That's
will
the
wake
other
you up.
thing.
And that's the
I mean,
issue.
surely you should know if this partner that's now getting frisky with you is awake or not.
Yes, that's the other end. Like maybe he's inebriated, maybe he's fully conscious. And the only way to tell is obviously you knowing.
Yeah.
It's just
Having had experience enough of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And as
And
I said,
that's
sorry, Hans. And as I
the
said-
end of NSFW, right?
Yeah,
that's what
almost,
I was going.
almost. Anything can trigger this. So, which means that even in a long-lasting relationship of 10 years, this might
Oh,
just happen.
Gosh, could you imagine?
Yeah.
You have a happy 20-year marriage, and then boom, you have Sexsomnia.
Yeah, suddenly you're so sleep deprived because of work and you're stressed because of COVID or whatever. Suddenly your partner is on top of you in the middle of the night for no reason at all.
A part of me is a bit like, I wouldn't mind, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean,
Then again, I'd also be like, but then I'm also like, I do like my sleep though. The little sleep that I get.
eh,
Because I don't
wouldn't
sleep
mind
much.
being
Actually,
woken up
I don't
with-
sleep much anyway, so I'd probably just be awake. I think
yeah, you'll just
for
be
me,
there like,
because
what
I'm
are
such
you
a
doing?
light sleeper, the moment the hand is on my groin, I'd be like, hey,
Like,
what's
let's
up?
go. Woo.
Oh, are we doing this? Okay.
Anyway, so yeah, that's interesting points.
Uh,
And that's the
and
end,
that's the end. NSFW. Wow, Ed, good episode.
Yeah, I think so.
Episode 50. We only really had one major issue
Yeah,
in a completely unedited episode where y'all will be hearing all them ramblings, which really weren't all that bad in my opinion.
Actually, no, it felt like a conversation, which I like.
But that's
that's
how
always
it's
what I'm
supposed to
getting
be.
at. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like-
that's generally what we go with.
I've literally argued with Hans before when he said, maybe we should go for a shorter time, and me being me just started arguing. Like, but that won't
And then
feel
I edit
natural.
that out.
No, of course. And I'm like, that won't feel natural. And obviously it always does at the end, and we'll always have fun.
No, it's
But
not
this-
that. It's just that we've previously settled on an hour 30. That
Yeah,
was kind
yeah.
of like our thing. Sure, this
After
episode
starting at
seems
half an
longer,
hour.
but bear in mind, I'm going to be cutting out that.
Yes.
I have to cut it out. I can't not cut out the dead air because that'll people are going to listen and be like, huh?
Well, what's happening? Yeah, and
But I mean, I'm not averse to talking. It's just
no.
we have polled our audience, and our
Yes.
audience has said that an hour 30 is a very
a
nice
normal time.
It's a nice length, and any longer
Yes.
is a little bit too long.
Yes.
You know, because if you think about it, if you do 2 40-minute drives a day, you can listen to the whole podcast. You know, as an
essentially.
example.
And I feel like,
But not everybody does that though. I mean, I don't leave the house anymore at all. So
well, I have to now again.
but you're not listening to us though. You're listening.
Sometimes I am, okay. I listen to the podcast.
Gotta
I don't
raise
watch
those
it.
numbers.
I don't watch it that much though. I listen to it. To
Yeah.
be fair.
I will admit, and I'll speak about this next week when I speak about the Apple Fitness Plus thing that I've alluded to. I have every now and again put our podcast on just to hear what it sounds like, and I
And then
generally
it
like
just
the
goes
crisp audio. Oh, actually, with that in mind, since we have all of you here listening, would you like a background track?
Like a little bit
mean,
of a
I'm happy to leave it as it is with just our voices and we speak. I'm just curious though, like maybe an hour and a half of the same background track might be a bit annoying.
no, but if it's an hour and a half of the same track, you won't notice because of all the topics.
Oh, that's also true.
It's true. They call this that genre of songs. It has a name.
Look, I personally like
use it a lot.
lo-fi because that's what I was thinking of. You know,
Yeah.
lo-fiing it in the background. Well, look, why don't you let us know how you feel? Are you? I mean, it's been a year of this now, I mean, longer. Are you happy with it as it is? We, as I mentioned in many episodes before, we like to know how you feel. So we previously debated about changing the structure, and it turns out you guys all love it more than we actually thought you would. And by structure, I don't mean structured conversation. I just mean like, oh, you know, we have reviews and previews, we have content, we have NSFW. And a lot of you said that you actually loved that. You know, you loved the fact that NSFW was at the end, so you could always listen to that. You love the fact that the reviews and previews in the beginning, so if that didn't interest you, you could skip to the content, you know?
Yep.
And it was great because initially we actually discussed just mixing it all up. So we'd have like one review, then we'd talk about something fascinating, then we'd have another review and talk about something else, and maybe have an NSFW point here, you know, depending on how everything flowed. Maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll do an unorganized ep at some point in time where we just randomly throw the stuff together. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm good.
I mean, we've done an unedited one now. Maybe every 10 episodes we do something funky.
Every 50 episodes.
Oh, that's too long. It'll be like next year.
That's fine with me.
Anyway.
It was a good one.
Well, that is it. The end of episode 50, season 2, episode 8. Please let us know about that. If you guys think this season 2 thing is cool, if we should just go with like 50 and then 51 and onwards. But thank you so much for listening.
Yeah.
We hope you enjoyed this, including all the mistakes and all the rambles. And we look forward to your opinion. So onwards and upwards. Hey, we hope you all have a wonderful week. And until next time. Ciao for now.
Bye.